These charts demonstrate a clear upward trajectory, exceeding all previous targets.
You shouldn't have come here tonight.
I had to see you. We can't keep avoiding this.
I always thought we were on the same side. I thought she was my friend. It didn't matter that we were both fighting for the same thing: success, respect, recognition. We both had our eyes set on the top, and I believed that no matter what, we could get there together. But then, things started to change. I remember the first time I felt something was off. It was subtle. She would make these little remarks, casual comments that, at first, I brushed off as nothing. But then it kept happening. At first, I thought it was just ambition, the drive we both shared. I was wrong. I don't know if it's just me, but I think you're getting a little too focused on your ideas lately, she said one day, leaning against my desk with that smile of hers. I mean, who else is going to take on the bigger projects, right? I didn't think much of it at the time. After all, we'd always shared everything: ideas, goals, even dreams. Or so I thought. But then it happened more and more. Ideas I'd come up with, projects I'd poured hours into, she started taking them as her own. At first, it was small stuff: meeting notes, emails, that kind of thing. I'd hear her talking about something I'd said just days before, only it was like it was her idea. I'd sit there, my mind racing, my heart skipping beats, but I didn't want to acknowledge it. She was my friend, right? We were in this together. But then she took it further. Can you believe the presentation for the new project went so well? It was my idea, after all, she said, barely looking at me, her voice smooth and casual as if she was just stating a fact. I froze. I'd worked on that project for months. I'd stayed up nights perfecting the details. And there she was, taking credit for something I'd slaved over, like it was nothing. My stomach twisted. The air in the room felt thick, suffocating. Yeah, you did great, I said, trying to hide the anger creeping up on me. I wanted to confront her. I wanted to scream, to demand what the hell was going on. But I didn't. I couldn't. Not yet. It wasn't until later that night, when I was alone in my apartment, that I finally broke. I found the email, the one she had sent to the team, claiming everything as hers. It was there, in black and white. No mention of me. No mention of the hours I'd spent developing it. It was her name at the top of the email, her signature at the end. My work. My ideas. Gone. I was furious. But what hurt the most was realizing that, for her, I was just a stepping stone. She had gotten close to me only to tear me down when it suited her. I didn't want to believe it at first. My mind kept trying to find excuses. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe she didn't mean it like that. But then the truth hit me. She meant it. She had been playing me the whole time, and I had been too blind to see it. The next day at work, I couldn't look at her the same way. Every time she passed by me, I felt the weight of her betrayal in my chest, and my anger started to build. I couldn't just sit back and let her take everything from me. I had to do something, anything, to stop her. Hey, I'm really sorry about yesterday, she said later that afternoon, acting like nothing had happened. I didn't mean to make it seem like you weren't a part of it. But you know how it is, the higher-ups were looking for someone to lead. I could feel the smugness in her voice, but I didn't let it show. I just nodded, pretending to buy her fake apology. It was then that I realized, this wasn't just about a project. It was about her trying to replace me. Trying to take my spot in everything, at work, in this company, in our friendship. I get it, I said, my voice tight. No hard feelings. But deep down, I was boiling. I knew what I had to do. If she thought she could replace me, if she thought she could just step all over me, then she was in for a rude awakening. I didn't care anymore about being the nice guy, the team player. I was done. I had worked too damn hard for her to just swoop in and take it all. The game was on. I would fight back. Everything okay? My best friend, Josh, asked me later that day. He could tell something was off. Yeah, I lied, forcing a smile. Just figuring things out. Josh didn't push me. He never did. He was the kind of guy who'd been with me through thick and thin. He was my rock, the only one who truly understood what I was going through. But even he couldn't see how deep the wound really went. He didn't know how much it hurt that the one person I thought would always be in my corner was the very person who stabbed me in the back. But I couldn't let him see that. I couldn't let anyone see just how broken I felt. I had to fight back. I had to take control again. I wasn't going to let her win. And from that moment on, I swore to myself I'd make her regret the day she decided to mess with me. I never imagined this would happen. One moment, I was on top of my game, people were noticing my work, my ideas were being praised, and I was getting the recognition I deserved. Then, just like that, it all crumbled. She had taken everything from me. Every bit of work I poured myself into was stolen. My ideas twisted, distorted, and passed off as her own. At first, I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was just a mistake. Maybe I was overthinking it. But the more I saw it happening, the more the pieces fell into place. She was taking credit for everything I had done, without even so much as a glance in my direction. I remember the first day I saw it happen. I walked into the meeting room, ready to present the final version of the project I had spent weeks working on. The whole team was there, and I could feel the buzz of excitement in the air. This was my moment. This was the day my hard work would finally be recognized. But when I walked in, there she was, standing at the front of the room, speaking with such authority. Today, I'm going to present the final project, she said, her eyes scanning the room like she owned the place. This is the culmination of weeks of hard work, and I'm proud to present it to all of you. I stood frozen, trying to process what was happening. Her words hit me like a slap in the face. This was my project. I had put in the hours, the effort. It was all me. But here she was, taking it from me, as if I didn't exist. I could feel the anger rising in my chest, burning hotter by the second. She had no shame. No remorse. I watched her as she smoothly presented my work, explaining my ideas as though they were hers, manipulating every word to make herself seem like the mastermind. I couldn't stop it. My mouth went dry, and my mind raced, trying to figure out how to fix this. I opened my mouth to speak, but the words got stuck. The team was hanging on her every word, their eyes fixed on her. I was invisible in that moment. I watched as she took control of my success. And there I was, pushed to the back, forgotten. The anger bubbled up inside me, but it wasn't just about the work. It was about her, the way she looked at me. It wasn't just the project she took, it was my dignity, my worth. She didn't even need to say anything, the way she looked at me said it all. Like I was just a stepping stone, a means to an end. Like I was nothing. I wanted to fight back. I wanted to scream at her, to expose her for what she really was. But every move I made seemed to make things worse. I tried to speak up, to correct her during the meeting, but my voice faltered. No one believed me. They all just nodded along, agreeing with her version of events, as if I had never existed in the first place. After the meeting, I sat at my desk, my mind racing. My head was spinning. How could this happen? How could she do this to me? And why didn't I say something? Why didn't I stand up for myself? The questions kept coming, but there was no answer. As the days went by, I could feel myself slipping. The team, once excited to work with me, began to pull away. They looked to her now, not to me. She was always one step ahead, always ready with the next idea, the next big move. And I was stuck, left behind, watching as everything I had worked for was taken from me. She didn't even have the decency to acknowledge what she had done. She was smug, confident, like nothing had changed. And I could feel it every time I saw her, every time she spoke. I could feel the weight of my shattered reputation. I don't know how to make it right, I said to Josh one night, my voice thick with frustration. She's everywhere. It's like she's taken everything. And I can't stop her. Josh listened, but his face was full of doubt. Man, you have to find a way to get back at her. You can't just let her do this to you. I don't know how, I muttered, staring at the floor. I don't know what to do. Every time I try to fight back, it just makes things worse. I wasn't just losing my project. I was losing myself. The more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't just about work anymore. She had destroyed my confidence, my sense of self-worth. And I had let her. But I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. I had to find a way to fight back. There had to be a way to reclaim what was mine, to take control again. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized how deeply this had affected me. She had turned the tables, and I was left picking up the pieces. I couldn't even look at her without feeling a rush of anger. But I couldn't let that anger control me. I had to find a way to channel it, to use it to my advantage. But how? How could I fight someone who had already taken everything from me? How could I face her when she was always one step ahead? I couldn't give up. I wouldn't. But the truth was, I didn't know where to begin. All I knew was this: if I was going to reclaim my life, I was going to have to dig deeper than I ever had before. The question was, would I be able to survive the fall? The days after the betrayal felt like I was walking through fog. Every thought, every action, was clouded by a storm of anger and regret. I couldn't shake the feeling of being humiliated, of being stripped of everything I had worked for. And what made it worse? She was thriving. It felt like she was rubbing it in my face. Every little victory she claimed felt like another punch to the gut. I hated the way it made me feel, weak, consumed. But somewhere deep inside, I knew I couldn't let this anger destroy me. I couldn't let her take everything from me, not just my ideas, but my will to succeed. I had to rise again. I had to be smarter this time. I decided it was time to take control. No more sitting around, stewing in my frustration. I was done with being reactive. It was time to make my move. I locked myself away in my small apartment for days. I didn't speak to anyone, didn't go out. It was just me and my thoughts. Well, me and my work. The first thing I did was start a new project, something completely separate from what she had taken from me. I wouldn't let her steal any more of my success. I still felt the anger, the need to prove myself, but now it had a purpose. I wasn't just working to get back at her anymore. I was working to reclaim myself, to show the world that I wasn't some backup option, that I wasn't someone to be walked all over. My own success, my own ideas, were worth something. "Are you sure about this?" Josh asked one night when I showed him what I had been working on. His voice was filled with concern, but I could see the flicker of hope in his eyes, too. He'd always been my rock, the one who believed in me when I had lost faith in myself. But even he couldn't fully understand the fire I felt inside. "I have to do this," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "This is the only way." Josh watched me for a moment, then nodded. "All right, man. Just don't let it consume you. Don't lose yourself in this fight." His warning stuck with me, but I couldn't let go of my resolve. He didn't know what it felt like to be stripped of everything you'd worked for, to be made a fool of by someone you trusted. But I knew that I couldn't let the anger define me anymore. I had to use it to fuel the fire, but I couldn't let it burn me out. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, I started to gain momentum. It wasn't fast, but it was steady. My new project started to take shape. Every little success, every small piece of progress, made me feel like I was starting to climb out of the hole she had shoved me into. The more I worked, the more I realized that I wasn't just trying to outshine her, I was trying to outshine my old self, the version of me that was content to be pushed around, to be invisible. I caught my first break when a client reached out to me about my work. It wasn't much, just a small freelance gig, but it was a start. I took that small victory and ran with it. I worked harder than I ever had before, pushing myself to do better, to be better. Slowly, the pieces started falling into place. But she still thought she had everything under control. I watched her, from the sidelines, as she continued to rise in the company. She was acting like nothing had changed, like she had one. But every time I saw her smug expression, the way she took credit for things that weren't hers, I could feel my resolve hardening. I wasn't just going to let her win. I was going to prove to myself, and to the world, that I was more than what she thought I was. More than just the guy she stepped on to get ahead. It didn't matter that she thought she was winning. She couldn't see what I was building, what was happening behind the scenes. And that was the key. I didn't need her to see it. I just needed to keep moving forward, to stay focused. "Man, you're doing it," Josh said one night, when we were having a drink at the bar. "I'm proud of you." I smiled, but it didn't feel like the victory it should have been. "It's not over yet." "No," he agreed, nodding. "But you're moving in the right direction." He was right. I was moving forward, but I still couldn't help but think about her. What would it take to bring her down? Was I really just trying to beat her? Or was it something deeper, something more personal? The idea of revenge still lingered in the back of my mind, but the more I worked, the more I realized I didn't need to focus on her anymore. I needed to focus on me. The more I focused on my new path, the more I began to outpace her. Her success, built on lies and manipulation, started to lose its shine. She was still riding high, but I could see the cracks. She didn't realize it yet, but the harder she tried to maintain control, the more I pulled away. And each time I got closer to achieving something, it felt like I was closing the gap between us. But it wasn't about beating her anymore. It was about reclaiming my own life. Josh was right about one thing: I couldn't let this consume me. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about taking back my sense of self, my identity. I had been broken, but I wasn't broken anymore. I was rebuilding. And this time, I was doing it on my terms. I could feel it, the shift. It was subtle at first, a small crack in the foundation she had built, but it grew bigger with each passing day. She was starting to slip. My new project, the one she never saw coming, was gaining momentum. Slowly, but surely, people started noticing my work again. The recognition, the validation I had been craving, started to flow in. I couldn't help but feel a rush of pride each time someone complimented my work or acknowledged the progress I was making. It was happening, finally. I was rising again, and I was doing it on my own terms. But the real change was in her. I saw it clearly now. The pressure of maintaining the success she had built on my ideas, on my work, was taking its toll. She was no longer the confident, untouchable woman I once knew. She was faltering, slipping up in ways that she never had before. I watched as she struggled, her usual arrogance giving way to uncertainty. And as much as I wanted to feel sympathy, as much as a part of me wanted to ignore it, another part of me felt a twisted satisfaction. She had done this to herself. It wasn't just the project. It was everything she had taken from me, everything she had stolen. I wanted to see her crumble. I wanted to watch her lose everything, just as she had done to me. But something nagged at me as I saw her struggle. The satisfaction was there, but so was something else, emptiness. I didn't want to feel this way. I wanted to be above it. I wanted to look at her downfall and feel like it was deserved, feel like I had finally won. But it wasn't winning. It was just watching her fail. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she had done to me. I wanted her to see the damage she had caused, to understand that I wasn't just some stepping stone, some easy target she could climb over to get to the top. But as the days went on, I realized something. Her failure wasn't enough. Watching her struggle, seeing the cracks in her confidence, wasn't enough. It didn't fill the void inside me. I wanted her to regret it. I wanted her to beg for forgiveness. But that was the problem. I didn't know if I wanted her forgiveness or just the satisfaction of making her feel what I had felt. The anger that had once driven me was still there, but now, it had evolved. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about something deeper, something I wasn't sure I even understood. The question that kept running through my mind was simple, but it ate away at me: how far was I willing to go? As my success grew, I noticed more and more signs of her falling apart. She was losing ground, and I knew it was only a matter of time before everything she had built started to crumble. I had taken back control of my life, and now, I could see that she was struggling to keep hers intact. At first, I felt a rush of vindication. She had taken everything from me. My ideas, my recognition, my career. Now, she was paying for it. But the longer I watched her, the more I realized I didn't just want her to fall. I wanted her to realize the damage she had done. I wanted her to look at me and finally understand that she had crossed a line. But that wasn't enough either. My thoughts were clouded with confusion. Was it really about her anymore? Or was it about me, about proving that I could rise again, that I could be better than her, that I could succeed without having to rely on anyone else? Josh had warned me. He had told me not to let this consume me. But it was so hard. Every time I saw her, every time I heard her name, I felt the anger flare up again. It was as if she had become the embodiment of everything I had fought against. She was my reminder of everything I wanted to escape. But I had to ask myself, was this really the person I wanted to be? I didn't know anymore. I was on the path to success, yes. But at what cost? Was I becoming the same kind of person I had hated? Was this whole thing, this fight with her, really about success? Or was it just about proving a point? And if it was just about proving a point, then what was I really gaining? I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to make a decision. I had to figure out where I wanted this to go. If I continued down this path of resentment, of revenge, I knew I was going to lose myself. But if I let it go, if I chose to forgive her, or at least move on, would that make me weak? Would that mean I was letting her win? The answers weren't clear. The road ahead wasn't simple. But as I watched her struggle, I knew something had changed in me. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I wasn't just fighting for the sake of fighting. Something inside me had shifted, and I wasn't sure if it was for the better or worse. But one thing was certain, I couldn't keep going the way I had been. I had to decide if I was going to continue letting this feud control me, or if I was finally going to take control of my own life, free from the shadows of the past. "Hey," Josh said one night, catching me off guard as I stared at the project I was working on. "You okay?" I didn't answer right away. I just stared at the screen in front of me. Everything I'd worked for. Everything I'd fought for. But the question was it enough? "I'm getting there," I said quietly, feeling the weight of it all settle on my shoulders. Josh gave me a long look. "You don't have to do this alone, you know." I smiled weakly, grateful for his support, but still uncertain about what the future held. "Yeah," I murmured. "But I have to figure this out myself." The more I succeeded, the more something inside me changed. I didn't wake up angry every day anymore. I didn't go to bed replaying her face in my head, imagining what I'd say if I ever got the chance. That surprised me the most. I thought revenge would be the only thing that kept me moving. Turns out, building something real felt better than destroying someone else. Still, she didn't disappear. She was always there. Watching. Lurking. Waiting for a crack. "You've been busy lately," she said one afternoon, stopping by my desk like she still had the right. Her smile looked the same, but her eyes didn't. They were sharper. Nervous. "Yeah," I said without looking up. "Work tends to do that." She laughed, but it sounded forced. "Must be nice. Getting all this attention all of a sudden." I finally looked at her. It didn't happen all of a sudden. Her jaw tightened for half a second. She recovered fast, but I saw it. "I'm just saying, things move fast around here. People forget." "I don't," I said. That landed. She shifted her weight, crossed her arms. "You think this is about me?" "I don't think about you as much as you think," I replied. That was true, and it scared her. Every attempt she made to trip me up failed. She questioned my numbers in meetings, and I answered calmly. She tried to poke holes in my plans, and my results shut her down. She whispered to people behind my back, but they came to me anyway. Each move she made only pushed me higher. Josh noticed it too. "You're different," he said one night while we were grabbing takeout. "Not angry. Not desperate." "I'm tired of being those things," I said. He nodded slowly. "You've got momentum now. Real momentum." "And she hates it," I said. "She's scared," he corrected. Big difference. I saw it in her eyes more and more. The confidence she used to wear so easily now slipped when she thought no one was watching. Her laugh was louder. Her smiles lingered too long. She was trying to hold her world together with both hands. One day, she cornered me in the hallway. "We need to talk," she said. "I'm busy," I replied. "This won't take long." I sighed. "Fine. Talk." She lowered her voice. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." I almost laughed. "You mean I'm not rolling over?" You know what I mean, she said. We could have worked together. You already made that choice, I said. You chose yourself. She scoffed. So did you. No, I said calmly. I chose to stop letting you take from me. Her eyes flashed. You think you're better than me now? I think I'm done competing with you, I said. That's the difference. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. Maybe she didn't. The truth was, I felt powerful for the first time, not because she was losing, but because I wasn't chasing her shadow anymore. I was building something that stood on its own. Clients trusted me. Colleagues respected me. My name meant something again. But late at night, when things were quiet, the question crept back in. What did I want from her now? I didn't need her job. I didn't need her reputation. I didn't even need her apology. So why did I still feel restless? Josh caught me staring at my laptop one night, lost in thought. You okay? I don't know, I admitted. That's new, he said gently. I keep thinking I should feel satisfied, I said. But I don't. Because revenge doesn't end clean, he said. It just drags. I leaned back. She's starting to fall apart. And part of me wants to push, I said. Just once. Hard. Josh studied me. And the other part? The other part wants to walk away. Which part wins, he asked. I didn't answer. The next week, she slipped up in a big meeting. Numbers didn't add up. Timelines conflicted. People asked questions she couldn't answer. I watched from across the table as her composure cracked. She glanced at me, panic flickering in her eyes. I could have said something. One sentence would have finished her. I stayed silent. After the meeting, she followed me outside. Why didn't you say anything? She demanded. Because I didn't need to, I said. She swallowed hard. You're enjoying this. I'm choosing something else, I replied. What? She snapped. Myself. Her voice broke. You think I don't know what I did? I paused. Do you? Yes, she said quickly. I do. Then live with it, I said. She reached out, then stopped herself. You're really not going to forgive me, are you? I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman who once laughed at me. The woman who tried to replace me. The woman now standing in front of me, afraid. I don't know yet, I said honestly. That was the turning point. Not her fear. Not my success. The moment I realized I had a choice. I could keep pressing until she broke completely. Or I could let this be the end. And for the first time since all of this began, the choice was mine. I'd been planning this moment for weeks. I'd pictured it over and over in my mind, what I'd say, how I'd say it, how I would finally have the last word. The anger I'd been carrying for so long burned inside me, like a constant reminder of what she had done. But now, as I stood there, facing her one last time, I realized something. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't about proving a point. It was about closure. Why did you do it? I asked, my voice steady, but the question felt hollow even as I spoke it. We were alone in the empty conference room, the same one where everything had fallen apart months ago. It was fitting that we would meet here, at the scene of the crime, so to speak. But this time, it wasn't a battle for control. I could see it in her eyes. The fear. The regret. She was finally broken. I had watched her slowly unravel for months, but now, in this moment, I could see the full extent of her fear. She had no power left. She was desperate. I thought, she started, her voice shaky. I thought I had to do it. To get ahead, to prove myself. By stealing from me? I cut in, the bitterness creeping into my voice. By betraying me? That's your excuse? She winced, but continued, I didn't know what else to do. I didn't think it would turn out like this. I didn't think it would. It would turn out like this because it was never supposed to be about you, was it? I stepped closer, my gaze unwavering, watching her squirm. I could see the cracks in her confidence, the facade she had worked so hard to maintain now crumbling in front of me. You were never interested in doing the work. You just wanted the credit, the recognition. You wanted what I had, without earning it. I was wrong, she whispered, almost pleading now. I admit it. I know I hurt you. I know I ruined everything. Please. Her voice faltered, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. But then I remembered all the lies, all the manipulation. I remembered the months I spent fighting for something I thought I deserved, only to watch it slip away into her hands. I should have been angry, furious even. But I wasn't. I wasn't anything. I'm not angry anymore, I said, surprising myself with the calmness in my voice. I'm done with that. I'm done with you. She looked up at me, confusion and panic in her eyes. What do you mean? I took a step back, my mind finally clearing. I mean, this is the end. I'm not here to destroy you. I'm not here to take anything more from you. But, she reached out, her voice trembling. You have to punish me, at least. You have to make me pay for what I did. Please. Her desperation hit me like a punch to the gut, but it wasn't anger I felt. It wasn't satisfaction. It was something else. Something I didn't want to acknowledge. The truth settled on me, heavy and undeniable. What I had been chasing all this time wasn't just success. It wasn't just revenge. It was peace. I don't need you to beg for forgiveness, I said quietly. I don't need you to suffer anymore. You've already paid the price. Her hands trembled at her sides. But you can't just let me go. You can't just walk away and forget everything I've done. I've already forgiven you, I said, the words strange on my tongue. But that doesn't mean I'm going to let you control my life anymore. She stared at me, speechless. Her face contorted with confusion and regret. I could see the realization dawning on her. She knew. She knew this wasn't about me having the upper hand anymore. It wasn't about me making her feel what I had felt. It was about me finally taking back my own life. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight lifting off my shoulders. This is it, I said, my voice steady. I'm done. She looked like she wanted to say something, but the words didn't come. She just stood there, defeated, as I turned and walked toward the door. When I reached the door, I paused, glancing back at her. You've already lost everything. And so have I. But I'm moving on. You should too. And with that, I walked away. For a moment, I felt like I should feel something, satisfaction, relief, anger, maybe even victory. But I didn't feel any of that. All I felt was emptiness. A hollow space inside me, as if I had been holding on to something for so long that when I finally let go, there was nothing left to grasp. But I wasn't angry anymore. I had won. But more than that, I had found peace. I didn't need to make her regret it. I didn't need her to beg for forgiveness. I had already forgiven myself. The moment of truth wasn't in what I had done to her. It was in what I had done for myself. I walked away, not because I was better than her. Not because I was above her. But because I had learned to move on. I had learned to let go. And that was the most powerful thing I could ever do. The weight had lifted. The constant pressure, the anger, the resentment, gone. It wasn't instant, of course. It took time. Time to really look at myself, to understand that I wasn't just fighting for success anymore. I was fighting for peace. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I was finally at peace. The past was behind me now. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. It wasn't about showing her, or anyone else, that I could make it. I had already done that. I had proven to myself that I was worth something, that I could succeed on my own. I was building something that was mine. Something I could stand on, something I could be proud of. It was still in its early stages, but I didn't need anything more than that. I wasn't trying to outshine anyone anymore. I wasn't comparing myself to her or anyone else. The truth was, I was finally doing it for me. "Man, you've changed," Josh said one night, when we were hanging out at our usual spot. He took a sip from his beer and shook his head. "It's like you're not the same guy who was all fired up and angry a few months ago." I smiled, my heart light. "I guess I've had a little time to think." Josh studied me for a moment, still unsure. He knew what I had been through, knew how hard it had been for me to let go. But he didn't fully understand it. And honestly, I didn't know if I could explain it to him, even if I tried. It was something I had to feel, not just understand with my head. "It's crazy, man," he said, half joking. "You actually seem calm. Like, really calm." "I am," I said, taking a deep breath. "I'm not chasing anything anymore. I'm just living." The look on Josh's face shifted, something between awe and realization. "That's good, man," he said. "Really good." I hadn't realized how much I had changed until I started hearing it from others. People at work, people I hadn't spoken to in a while, all of them were noticing the difference. I wasn't walking around with clenched fists anymore, ready to fight every battle that came my way. I was calm, focused, and surprisingly, confident. There were moments when I'd think back to everything that had happened, back to the rage that once consumed me. But it didn't feel the same anymore. It didn't hurt. It didn't make me angry. It felt like a distant memory, something I had learned from, but no longer needed to carry around. "You've really moved on, haven't you?" Josh asked one night, looking at me from across the table. "Yeah," I said, my voice steady. "I think I have." That was the hardest part, wasn't it? Letting go. The forgiveness. Not just forgiving her, but forgiving myself for letting it all happen in the first place. I had let the anger control me. I had let it define me for too long. And now, I was finally free. The project I had started from scratch was finally gaining traction. It wasn't a massive success yet, but it didn't need to be. I was proud of it. Proud of how far I had come. It was mine, something I had built with my own hands, my own ideas. And that was enough. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't measuring myself against anyone else. I wasn't measuring myself against her anymore. I walked into the office one morning, and for the first time, I felt like I belonged. The tension I used to carry, those old fears, the comparison to her, to everyone, was gone. I wasn't worried about whether someone would try to take my work again. I wasn't worried about her anymore, or anyone else for that matter. "Hey, looking good in here," said the receptionist, smiling at me as I passed by. Thanks, I said, nodding. It's been a good week. It was. Things were finally falling into place. There were still challenges ahead, but they didn't scare me like they used to. I wasn't afraid of failure anymore. I wasn't afraid of what people thought. I was starting to see my work as something worthwhile on its own, not as a means to prove anything. Josh met me for lunch that day, and when I walked in, he stood up, grinning at me. Hey, I'm proud of you, man. I sat down and smiled. Thanks. I've actually started enjoying what I do. You deserve it, he said, taking a sip from his drink. You've earned it. It was the first time I could honestly say that I felt like I had earned something. Not because of anyone else's approval or validation, but because I had fought for it and gotten there on my own. The road ahead was still long, but it felt different now. I was different now. I didn't need to go through life fighting for revenge or clinging to past grudges. I had learned to move on, to forgive, and most importantly, to forgive myself. I had reclaimed my own life. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I was finally at peace with it all. I look back at everything that's happened, and it's hard to believe how far I've come. The betrayal, the anger, the pain, all of it seems so distant now. It feels like someone else's life, someone else's story. It's strange how time can turn something so raw into something that just feels over. Like it's been put to rest. I never thought I'd get here, but here I am. It was a long road. I spent so much time consumed by thoughts of revenge, of making her pay for what she did. I thought that would bring me peace. I thought that was the way to fill the void she left. But it didn't. It never did. I remember the nights I would lie awake, thinking of all the ways I could get back at her. I would fantasize about seeing her brought down, humiliated, and begging for my forgiveness. I thought that if I could just make her realize what she had done to me, it would make me whole again. But it didn't. And now, looking back, I can see that it was never about her. It was never about getting even. It was about me, and my inability to let go of the past. My desire for revenge was a shield, a way to avoid dealing with the hurt, the self-doubt, and the emptiness I had inside. But now? I don't need revenge. What I have now, the peace I've found, is the result of growth. I've become someone new. Someone stronger. And it's not because of anything she did. It's because of what I did. I stopped fighting, stopped obsessing over what she took from me, and started focusing on what I could build for myself. You've come a long way, Josh said to me the other night, looking at me like he was seeing me for the first time. I guess I have, I said. I didn't feel pride or smugness, just a quiet sense of peace. You've found something real, he said, leaning back in his chair. Something you didn't have before. He was right. I had. The past no longer controlled me. It was like a weight had been lifted off my chest, and I was finally able to breathe. I could move forward now, without the chains of anger and bitterness holding me back. But I'll admit it, there's a part of me that still wonders about her. About what she's doing now, how she's handling everything she's lost. I see her sometimes, at meetings, in the hallways, and for a brief second, I feel that old flicker of anger. I remember everything she did to me. But then I remember something else. I remember that I'm free now. And that's all that matters. I don't need to see her struggle. I don't need to see her regret it. She's already facing the consequences of her actions. She has lost everything, her reputation, her status, and now, she has to live with that. But it's no longer my problem. What I needed to do wasn't forgive her, it was forgive myself. I needed to let go of the guilt I had carried for so long, the guilt that made me think I wasn't enough, that made me think I needed her approval to feel worthy. I needed to forgive myself for letting her take so much from me. I used to think forgiveness was something I had to give to others. That I had to extend grace to the people who hurt me. But now I know it's something I have to give to myself. It's about releasing the burden I've been carrying. Letting go of the anger. Letting go of the pain. I never realized how much I had been holding on to until I finally let go. As for her, well, I don't think she's the same person anymore either. I've watched her from a distance, seen the cracks in her confidence. She's still trying to maintain the same facade she always had, but it's different now. The walls are starting to come down. She's lost everything, her position, her power, her friends. And I know she's struggling to hold it all together. Part of me wants to feel sorry for her. Part of me even wonders if she regrets it all. But then I remember, she made her choices. She chose this path. She thought she could replace me, climb over me to get to the top. Now, she's standing in the ashes of her own making, and she has no one to blame but herself. But that's not my problem anymore. I've moved on. I've found my own success, and it's the kind that I built from the ground up. I don't need to watch her suffer to feel better. I don't need to watch anyone suffer anymore. I'm done with that. I'm proud of you, man, Josh said, his voice breaking through my thoughts. I looked at him, meeting his gaze. He had been there through it all, through the pain, the anger, the frustration, and now, I was finally standing on the other side. The person I used to be was gone, and the person I had become was someone I could be proud of. Thanks, I said. I'm proud of me, too. It's funny how it takes a lifetime to get to the place where you can finally say that, and yet, it only takes a moment to realize that you've already arrived. I'm ready now. Ready to move forward. Ready to build a future that's mine, without looking back, without the shadows of the past clouding my way. And as I look toward the future, I see nothing but possibilities. The world is wide open, and for the first time in a long time, I'm not afraid to walk through it. Because I'm not just moving on. I'm moving forward, stronger, wiser, and free.